And a very special good morning, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Defo on 5. All I could think of, Mike Lubie Lubitz, Jeff DeForest, along with one Mike Lubie Lubitz, was the Argentine Tango takedown. Probably the most brutal beat I ever took in my life. For those unfamiliar with the story, we have a horse that's going to pay $30. He wins by 5 lengths. Some guy comes running up the apron and is screaming, there's going to be an objection, going to be an objection. And we're like, shut the bleep up, man. There's not going to be any objection here. Nothing happened. The horse was on the outside, aired by 5. No problem whatsoever. We were about to cash thousands of dollars worth of tickets, not only in the win position, but a couple of Bomberoos came in second and third. We had exactas, we had tries, we had superfectas, we had pentafectas, we had hectafectas. We had every kind of fecta that you could possibly have, except we kind of got the old prostate exam as they actually started flashing the number on the board. And there was a steward's inquiry called very late. Well, actually, it was a trainer's objection. And sure enough, after watching a zillion instant replays, all of which appeared to be totally inconsequential for this dying pig that barely got brushed by Argentine Tango, they take the horse down. I was already standing at the window waiting to collect. And of course, there were others involved, including my friend, the Polyman, who was about to be able to pay off every loan shark that ever had it in for him his entire life and still have plenty of money left over to buy that beach house in the Bahamas. But sure enough, they DQ'd the horse, and it's still an embittering component of my lifetime, years and years later. I guess from a basketball sense, being a Syracuse fan and a Syracuse alum, the 1987 Keith Smart shot, what was particularly brutal. But I don't know that I've ever seen anything quite as brutal as what happened to FAU on Saturday night. Lubie, they're up 14. I'm sitting in Myron's Deli at the Harris Casino, formerly the Isle Casino, formerly Pompano Park. And all of the Altacockers that are eating the free meal, which is a consolation for losing thousands in the slot machines and having all of their Social Security money evaporate. When is the next time they pay Social Security? I'll come back. And they're chowing down on a free meal, and all of a sudden, everybody became an FAU fan. Cinderella stories tend to attract that. They're up 14. And I'm sitting there doing commentary, and the people at the bar are turning around and going, "Yeah, you're right, man. They can't lose this game." And sure enough, it happened. Up 14 in the second half, rolling. I mean, just absolutely controlling the action, looking great in the process. What would you say, Lubie? Was there a little bit of a choke element there? Some people are blaming the officials. They couldn't grab any boards off of missed free throws. That hurt them a lot. And then with 6 seconds to go, they drive the ball the length of the court, and this guy, it's a very difficult shot, Lamont Butler. It wasn't like that was easy. He's all the way in the corner. He's being well guarded. He reverses direction, comes back to his left, raises up, and that jumper was as pure as anything that you'll ever see. Right through, nothing but net. And sure enough, FAU's dream fizzles out, although I don't know that they would have been a great match for UConn anyway. And then, of course, the other game was just anticlimactic letdown as didn't have it against the University of Connecticut, which has been a juggernaut, winning all of their games in the tournament by double digits. What did you think, Libby? I mean, did you feel like you got punched right in the groin at that point? FAU game that was really brutal to take.
The FAU game was annoying because they came from down early, but were up the entire second half. Like they actually never
in command
the lead until the end. Like they had flirted with giving up the lead, but maintained the lead. They had the ball one with 30 something seconds left. Just run the clock down, get a good shot. What's funny is John L. Was it Robinson?
John L. Davis, yeah.
John L. Davis had been one of the better players, but in that game he wasn't. In that game he hadn't done much. What was the other guy's name? Not right. The guy that had the ball first to pass it to Davis was the one I would have wanted to have the ball. He was playing strong the entire game. He was going to the basket strong. They couldn't stop him. And if he got to the basket, it was a foul. And he hands it off to Davis, and I was like, oh, I don't know about that. That was Martin.
Well, I think the move was to drive it to the basket with his little time left on a shot clock.
I would have wanted Elijah Martin going to the basket. Martin was the bigger, stronger dude, and he had played way better. John L. Davis hadn't done anything in that game. Like Martin was a force in that game, and I would have had him take it to the basket. And so you hand it off to Davis. Davis goes one-on-one against the big. The big cleanly blocks it, and it's like that was a total waste of a possession. They go down, and it's like, oh shit, they're not going to take a timeout. Their best offensive player was on the bench. It's like, oh my God, this is a win. The guy, Butler, was driving like a lunatic. He had no idea what the hell he was doing. Like at that moment, you should have doubled him, which I didn't get that. They had him singled up, and he had no idea what the hell he was doing. And the clock's ticking down, and they backed off. It was fucking weird. They played really good defense until the last second. When they backed off, it was like they had no idea what the clock was. He had no chance of passing it.
Yeah, how do you not help out on the ball there?
It was weird. They should have done the thing because they wouldn't even gotten a shot off. And
there was less than a second to go when he let go of the ball.
He had once they gave him a little bit of space. He pulled up, and I was like, "Oh no!"
Yeah, no, that was ugly. And then just got manhandled by the University of Connecticut. I know they got back into the game. They gave up the first 9 points, and you thought, "My God, this is going to be just absolutely ugly." They really didn't shoot. I mean, they shot very poorly throughout the ball game. Could match up on the inside. Could match up on the outside.
Their guys were nowhere to be found. Jordan Miller was nowhere to be found. Pack did nothing, and then Pack doesn't have a shoe. I don't even know what the fuck that was. That was the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Like Pack was on the bench for a long period of time because they had no backup shoe.
Yeah,
I don't know what that means.
And they had to run to like Sam Houston racetrack to find a pair of sneakers for this kid.
Wong did nothing.
They had the shot of the manager or whatever coming out and he's got a pair of sneakers that looked like he borrowed them off Lady Gaga, right? I mean, it didn't even look like basketball shoes. They couldn't just make an announcement to the crowd. Anybody got a size 12?
Exactly.
All these people are wearing $300 sneakers. You would have been able to get them off a UM fan. That would have been great. But outclassed, and yet as disappointing as it was, and you talk about the air coming out of the balloon there, or the FAU loss, brutal. The UM loss, more understandable because UConn was such a juggernaut in the tournament. But you would have liked to have seen UM play its best game. I would hardly say that they did that, whether that was all UConn's doing or whatever it was, that they caved in a little bit under the moment and the pressure. And Jim Larinaga referenced the sight lines there for shooting. It didn't affect UConn. They were nailing nothing but threes, but UM did not seem to be on its best game in terms of shooting the basketball. Really an horrific shooting night for them, in addition to the fact that they were going to get outgunned on the boards and really couldn't stop either the inside game or the perimeter game for the University of Connecticut. Favored by 5.5 tonight, by the way, over San Diego State. Would you not be tempted to go ahead and lay that 5.5 with UConn? Be nice to be sitting there with a bet on UConn and win it all, as it appears that they were vastly superior to everybody else once the tournament got started. Now, they've had some fortunate breaks also because their path was eased up a little bit, in certain circumstances, but nonetheless, they've played the best basketball by far, and I would be tempted, of course, to lay the 5.5. So that San Diego State's going to win the game tonight. Somehow find a way. How they came back against FAU, half choke. Some people are blaming the officials.
Yeah, the refs were great.
You have to be able to grab rebounds off missed free throws, though.
Well, that's the funny thing is it's not even the rebounding.
They got this 7-footer from Russia. Putin himself could have grabbed a couple of rebounds in that game.
Rebounding off an offensive rebound on a free throw is rare. Like they did it 5 straight times.
It has to be a fluke, where the shot is so terrible that it comes out to the second guy. But nonetheless, that was brutal. Real tough to watch. Kind of deflating all the way. I don't know that I have as much interest in the title game as I normally would if the two South Florida teams weren't involved in losses in the semifinal games. But that's the way it went. Marvelous season for both teams. Nobody would take that away. We'll try and get in touch with the coaches later on our Defo show on South Florida Live, and hopefully be able to talk to both Dusty May and Jim Larinaga later on in the week. I know Larinaga was celebrating the fact that they made it that far, saying that it was a very positive sign. And, you have to think that Dusty May figures it's Cinderella time. And apparently, I guess he signed a new 5-year extension at FAU. I would imagine involving a substantial increase in salary from the $500,000 he was reportedly making going into this year. And, did a marvelous job there. I mean, built a program essentially from nothing and had them in the Final Four. So you would have to think that that is going to be a springboard for good things to come. But very, very disappointing. Maybe one of the most disappointing nights of sports viewing I've had since Marino was in the Super Bowl there a long time ago. What was that, 1984, 85 Super Bowl? And sure enough, they just got trounced. I laid money on the Dolphins, in a bet that was made totally with my heart, and knowing that San Francisco was a vastly superior team. And then we had to watch Wendell Tyler just run rings around Jay Brophy in that ball game. I still remember Brophy's head, like Linda Blair in The Exorcist, spinning around, trying to, where'd they go? Roger Craig and Wendell Tyler torched the Miami Dolphins that day, and whatever it was that I had on the ball game quickly went up in smoke. A very deflating day. And that's kind of how it turned out on Saturday night. So much anticipation, especially after the Florida Derby turned out to be a good race. This Forte really didn't have the best of it.
That was
Won the
crazy.
race, but did you see the race, Lubie? Did you happen to watch this thing?
I didn't watch it live, and then yesterday I was like, "What the fuck happened with the Derby?" I didn't see any texts from you guys. I didn't see anything. So I was like, "Shoot." So I found the clip, and the Forte was out of it 3/4
Done.
of the race. Yeah. Then out of nowhere, like a monster.
Horses that are in that position in the stretch and kind of staggering around, while the horse that was on the lead appeared to be strong enough to go ahead and go all the way. I don't know that I've seen a rally like that in the final steps in a long, long time from a horse that really wasn't generating that kind of late kick. It's one thing if Forte was 10 lengths back top of the stretch and came on like a freight train. But the horse was kind of just running up and down and going nowhere all the way to the 16th ball. And then all of a sudden, stepped on the gas pedal. Iran Ortiz, who won, I think, every race on the card. I think he won all 14 races, Iran Ortiz. It wasn't him, it was his brother. I said that when I saw the Blood Brothers, my good friend Albert Castiglia and Mike Zito, great band that's out there now, traveling around the country. And they were here in town last Friday night, a week ago Friday. Got to see them. They were great. And I think those are the best brothers outside of the Ortiz brothers. Of any collection of brothers going all the way back to like the Allman brothers, maybe even the Everly brothers. But wow, I mean, Iran Ortiz just on fire. And at Forte, I don't know what kind of indication that is about. I'm sure he'll be the favorite for the Kentucky Derby, and that's only about a month away. But I'm not sure what kind of indication that was. Did it show that the horse is just running on pure guts sometimes? Had every excuse to bounce a little bit off that brilliant effort in the Fountain of Youth, his first race this year. But here's the 2-year-old champion. He's won his only 2 races as a 3-year-old, including from the 11 post, which was very compromising for him in this race. And goes on and wins the Florida Derby. So we'll see what happens with that. Many other things. The Marlins open up their season, Lubie. Chaz Chisholm is not exactly Willie Mays in center field.
Oh, he's horrendous. Oh,
I don't think he would have caught that fly ball off the bat of Vic Wertz and then done a 360 spin and thrown a guy out at second base. Not sure that is going to happen anytime. And it appears once again that the Marlins have managed to find a way to confuse the issue to the point where they have virtually everybody playing out of position. How great is that, right? Their shortstop never played shortstop. Their center fielder never played center field. Did they move Arise from first base to second base? Is that what happened?
I don't know.
This guy can hit, though. He looks a little bit like Ron Carew. Luis Arise, who they got during the offseason, the American League batting champion from a year ago, beat out Aaron Judge, kept him from winning the Triple Crown. And I believe he already has 9 hits in the 4 games. Now, that addition alone is not enough to cure what ails the Marlins, as they're averaging 2 runs a ball game through 4 games on the season. Their highest total so far has been 3 runs. 3 runs. They had a 3-run rally in the 6th inning of the opening game against the Mets. Jim Sarney was already, our good friend Jim Sarney, former Sun Sentinel sports writer, already had the championship flag hanging from his car, saying, hey, look at that. They couldn't rally like that before. But that was it. That's been their top total so far through 4 games. That's not going to cut it. And if the fielding is going to be as atrocious as it was over the weekend. Now, the Mets, obviously one of the favorites to win the National League East. They have to be. The Phillies get torched by Texas, lose 3 in a row over the weekend. They don't have Bryce Harper till the All-Star game. They lost Rhys Hoskins, who was one of their key components. He's out for the season. So, they got punched in the stomach also, much like the FAU fans did with that Lamont Butler shot. But still, they won one of the games. My buddy Ira, a Met fan, called me saying he was impressed with the Marlins.
They were horrendous.
Horrendous. Yeah, no. So I don't know. The only flag they should, fly on opening day is a white flag, right?
Honestly.
Just surrender. That's it. You know what? We're here for 162 games. You want to come out, get a $12 hot dog, come on out. But in general, in all likelihood, we are going to suck. The Japanese kid made his debut also for the Mets. Senga. Wicked forkball this guy throws. My God. I mean, how is it that these Japanese guys these pitchers come over and they always have like one weird pitch that nobody can hit. Remember the gyro ball? That was, that was a big thing. Wow, nobody can hit the gyro ball, man. I mean, and now this guy has a forkball, a splitter that is really insane in its movement. So Senga making a nice debut. He did give up a run, got touched up for a couple of hits, but in general looked pretty good, pretty solid. That was a big Mets expenditure during the offseason and kind of flew under the radar, Lubie, because everybody was going crazy because they got Verlander. And Verlander starts out the season on the injured list. And meanwhile, this Japanese kid looked like the real deal. So Met fans are naturally euphoric. They take 3 out of 4 from the Marlins. I'm not sure what kind of indicator that is
The Marlins suck.
about how good they're going to be during the season. LSU wins the women's game, the women's college championship. It was great. Iowa beating South Carolina, upset a team that was 36-0. This Caitlin Clark was spectacular, had a 40-point triple-double, set the all-time record. I mean, do you count that? Is there an equation there between the men's tournament and the women's tournament in terms of total points scored? Because Caitlin Clark now has the record most points ever scored, men or women, in an NCAA tournament. Should that be a separate category? I think yes on that. Some people are not going to be happy with that because it's the usual misogynistic, overly, biased against women. But it's a whole different ballgame, the men's game and the women's game in college basketball. I mean, I don't even know that there's a strong comparison, although you do see a larger number of really talented women's players, but you still see a lot of rugby scrums out there. Crazy stuff. This Kim Mulkey, a lot of people don't like her. Right? She dresses like Liberace
No, she
on the sidelines.
Taylor weird and took the money to go to LSU, which is actually a worse program.
Yeah.
But then they go win the title the first year. So, like, I guess it wasn't a bad move.
We had actually mentioned, even though we barely scratched the surface of talking about women's college basketball this year, if at all. But this Angel Reese from LSU, and she's like the queen of the double-double. But a classless move, to get in the face. Did you see this taunting thing with Caitlin Clark?
Does it. Clark does it all the time. Clark did it the last game. She was doing what is it? I don't know, some hands.
And that thing where she hides her face. I don't know. What does that mean?
You can't see me. You can't see me. It's like, okay. Well, you lost, lady. You were losing by double digits. I don't know.
But she really overdid it, though. I think. Did you not?
Did it
I mean, at some point the ref had to get in there and just say, "Hey, look, knock it off." Although the game, I guess the game wasn't really actually over. So congratulations in order there. What we did, we do have the championship game tonight. The Heat got a win over Dallas. Dallas sucks with Kyrie Irving. He's buried another franchise. He's done it again.
Amazing. We called it. I thought it would be him being weird. He actually has played, and he hasn't been. He's been weird, but his weirdness hasn't stopped him from playing.
No,
his play has been what's ruined them.
Yeah,
like they just are
4-9 with Doncic and Kyrie Irving on the floor together. Games they play together. They're 4-9. They're outside the 10th spot. And as I've told you all season long, Lubie, don't sleep on the Lakers. Don't sleep on the Lakers.
It was a joke before, but it's actually true.
They're coming on. I told you, you have to be able to foresee things in this world. You can't just sit there and go with what's, status quo. Like, okay, they're playing lousy. You could see this. Anthony Davis is going crazy. LeBron James looks like he's 25 years old. And whatever they did to, make the changes and adjustments in personnel, the supporting cast all of a sudden is coming through, and the Lakers are winning every night. So they moved themselves, I guess, into the 7th position with a chance to even lock themselves into a playoff spot when it looked like they were going to miss the playoffs and even the play-in game altogether. The Heat have 4 games left in the season. I believe their next one might be tomorrow night against Detroit.
They play Detroit tonight, I think.
Tonight? No, I think Detroit's in Orlando tonight. But their next game is against Detroit. The Pistons have lost 20 of their last 21.
Tuesday,
Can you spell tank? Tank is a 4-letter word.
Detroit Tuesday.
So Tuesday night, so they're going to get the Detroit Pistons, losers of 20 of 21, off back-to-back road games.
Well, they struggle against the Pistons. I don't know what to expect in that game.
Anyway, they still sit outside of that 6th spot, 2 games back of the Nets, who also have 4 games left to go. The Nets were winners last night. The Cats are getting hot for Hagee with a 4-goal performance, which naturally ties a record for a number of goals in a game. I can't imagine anybody having 5 in Panther history in a single game. But all of a sudden, they're playing great. Ever since the coach, the French Joe Philbin, Paul Maurice, called his team a bunch of pussies, They've been nothing but great. They're no longer pussycats. All of a sudden, they look better than they did last year. And we'll see if they can sustain that into some kind of a playoff run. But they now find themselves in a very precarious, tenuous, and fragile playoff spot. All right, we got to run. Now we'll have the Defo show, a couple of hours of frivolity coming up, 7 to 9. That's live on South Florida Live. And, of course, we do play segments of that here on 5 Reasons Sports Network, which we're proud to Scoop Skolnick, expanding his horizons, talking about all kinds of new content that's coming to 5 Reasons, so you guys don't necessarily have to just zero in on a Heat. Hey, how many minutes you think Jimmy Butler should play tonight? I don't know. Do you think we should get Kelly Olynyk back in a deal? I mean, come up with all kinds of theories, but there's a broad universe of sports out there, people, including Danil Medvedev winning the Miami Open.
Oh,
Congrats there. That was a bounce effect there with that guy, Yannick Sinner, who beat Alcaraz in a thriller in Manila a couple of nights prior. I guess that was Friday night. All right, we'll catch you next time on Defo on 5. Thanks for tuning in, everybody.